So Star Wars The Last Jedi came out recently, and if you follow me on Twitter, then you know I actually saw it a few days ago, but I wasn't really ready to do videos about it immediately. Like I said on Twitter, there's a lot to unpack and think about in this movie, and to be honest, I was kind of conflicted about what all I saw, especially when I left the theater and I sat down trying to figure out how to express to you guys what all I thought about it. I'd been hearing a ton of people talking about how divisive this movie is, like a ton of fans really seem to be split down the middle on whether or not they like the movie or they think the movie's good, and honestly I can definitely see why. This movie takes a ton of risks and does so many crazy, unexpected things with all the characters and the story. Seriously, Star Wars fans especially, if you haven't seen the movie yet, be prepared to just get blown away like every 5 seconds. Now, is that necessarily a good thing? Well, let's get into my non-spoiler review for Star Wars Episode VIII, The Last Jedi, and figure that out. So the movie's pretty much a direct continuation from The Force Awakens, like it picks up almost immediately after where that one ended. You have Rey trying to train with Luke Skywalker, Poe and Finn trying to help the Resistance against the oncoming First Order, and Kylo Ren trying to destroy pretty much everybody. It pretty much starts off with this very New Hope feel in the sense that you think you know who these characters are and you recognize that they start off in this very familiar place, but then the movie just kind of throws all of that out the window.
This is not going to go the way you think.
Really, when you think about it, The Last Jedi is kind of like The Empire Strikes Back, not because it replicates a lot of what we saw in that movie like The Force Awakens did with A New Hope, even though we do get a few throwbacks from time to time, but I mean in the sense that it takes huge risks with the story, and the characters you know and love get put in these really dark, unexpected places, and that's a good thing. I like that. It really shakes things up and keeps you on your toes. This is honestly the first time I've ever seen a Star Wars movie and didn't have a firm idea about what was going to happen next while I was watching it. At the same time though, I feel like in the rush to get to that unpredictability, director Rian Johnson either tossed out or ignored pretty much everything J.J. Abrams set up in the last movie. Want to know literally anything about Captain Phasma? Well, too bad, she's barely in it. Want to know who Snoke is? Well, f*** you, who cares? Seriously, it sucks. Even the things the movie does bother to tell us kind of suck too. Like there's a whole thing with Rey and her parents. I don't really want to get into it too much because I don't want to give anything away or whatever, but the reveal was really disappointing for me. I'm not talking about the answer we got. No, that part was pretty interesting and creative, especially after seeing all the theories and everything people were making about it. It's just the way it was thrown out there. It's just kind of like, f it, here's your answer. Nobody cares, nothing to see here. Yeah, it could get retconned or messed with later in episode 9, but why bother by this point? Going back to the story in general, like I said earlier, I think it was good, but holy hell, it was ridiculously long. You've probably heard a ton of people saying the movie starts to drag around the middle. I thought that meant it just gets a little boring by then, like maybe there's too much talking or whatever, but no, for whatever reason, we're pulled away from the main story for what feels like forever just to follow Finn and this new character Rose while they go running around Canto Bight, this gambling planet where apparently everybody's an asshole. The whole thing ends up being pointless anyway, and I remember sitting in the theater wondering why, in a nearly 3-hour-long movie, we had to sit through all that. You could probably cut about 90 to 95% of Finn and Rose's adventure, and you could still figure out what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what happens when they're done, and you'd get a much more streamlined movie in the process. Seriously, it's that pointless. That having been said, the ending of the movie is really where all the action is. It has its big and loud moments, sure, like the First Order goes crazy against the Resistance, it looks like all hope's lost, Finn has this super badass moment that actually kind of threw me off when I saw it, but it's the final confrontation between Kylo Ren and this other character, who I refuse to name here for spoiler reasons, where the movie tosses in its biggest gut punch, which I also can't talk about because of spoilers and all that. Speaking of action, there's definitely a bunch of it here. Space battles feel more energetic in this movie than they have in previous Star Wars movies, with a bunch of explosions and a ship ripping other ships apart at light speed, really helping up the cool factor here. Seriously, that light speed thing was so awesome. Even the hand-to-hand stuff feels a little grittier, with the lightsaber fights being especially awesome this time around. There's one with Kylo Ren, I think around the middle of the movie, that I thought was super cool, and he just pulls off one of the most brutal kills with a lightsaber that we've ever seen in the Star Wars universe. And the characters feel more alive and deeper in this movie. We get a better understanding of who Kylo is, who Rey is, even who Luke is after he helped save the galaxy at the end of Return of the Jedi. And while I don't necessarily care for the explanation for why Luke wound up hiding himself away from the rest of the galaxy after trying to train Kylo Ren and a bunch of other kids to be Jedi, I at least understand why he almost did what he did. Seriously, if you see the movie and you end up disagreeing with me, go back and rewatch Return of the Jedi. It puts his thought process in a little bit of context. Going back to Kylo though, I think he might be the biggest standout in this big cast of characters we got. I mean, he goes from wannabe Darth Vader to this deep, layered, and seriously evil bad guy that could easily stand among some of the greatest villains in the Star Wars universe.
You're so right.
But as great as some of the characters are, there were others I didn't really care for this time around, like Rose for instance. I don't know why everybody likes this character so much, I really didn't. I think my biggest issue was just because her whole story with Finn took forever to finish up and it was essentially pointless, but I don't know, maybe I'll like her more when she's doing whatever it is she's gonna be doing in episode 9. Poe's another weak link in this one, which is a shame because he was actually kind of fun in The Force Awakens. Here, he's just kind of a loudmouth asshole who blows up a bunch of stuff. I don't know, him doing what he did to the Resistance resistance equipment just seemed really out of character for him. Like, I can't watch The Force Awakens and see that same character doing what he does in The Last Jedi. And of course, I can't do a review of The Last Jedi without mentioning the Porgs. Look, I'm gonna be honest, before I saw the movie, I thought the Porgs were gonna be this generation's Ewoks. You know, these creepy little monsters that eat a bunch of people off screen. But no, actually they were just there. It's actually kind of refreshing to see what's obviously a marketing gimmick just exist and not get crammed unnecessarily into a bunch of important scenes. There's a handful of other things I could toss around here, like you probably heard there's a decent bit of humor, but stuff like that's a bit more subjective. I mean, I liked it, I didn't think it stood out all that much, but you know, maybe you're not looking for jokes in a Star Wars movie, whatever. All in all, I feel like I have to give The Last Jedi maybe a 3.9 out of 5. Like I said, it was a good movie, I liked a bunch of elements in it, like the action, the characters, all that good stuff, but I think it dropped the ball on a bunch of different plot elements from The Force Awakens that could have been really cool to explore in Episode 9. Now, having said that, I think this is the first movie I'm actually going to put a hold on my final score. Like I said at the beginning of this video, there's just a lot of stuff to unpack and think about here. It just doesn't seem fair to lock it into one score after only one viewing. So when I get a chance to go see it again, I'll probably come back and update this video. Probably. But anyways guys, that's my take on Star Wars The Last Jedi. If you guys liked this video, or maybe you had your own thoughts about parts of the movie I didn't mention here, then go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to click that like button, maybe leave me a comment while you're at it, and go ahead and click that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to check out any of my social media pages. I've got a Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. All those links are going to be in the description below. And I've also got my last video right there in the middle of your screen, so if you want to check that out, go ahead and click it, check it out. Alright, and I will see you all next time.